Welcome, gamers, to this week's episode of Last Call Gaming. We're on episode number 215. Today is May 23rd. My name is Craig Perales, and joining me, Mandrew Montemayor.
Happy hot days, because it's getting hotter now.
Dude, I was looking at that's so weird you bring it up. I was looking at my app the other day, and it was just like 103, 105. I think Wednesday or something may have been like a 90-something, but yeah, it's starting to get hot. Memorial Day's right around the corner.
Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, be safe. And I know a few people are going to do some pool parties and stuff, but I think we were talking off camera. Maybe just sit inside and just call it a nice little catch up on some backlog. Maybe watch a movie.
I got a kid on the way, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I can't be out here slumming it.
Yeah, you're right around the corner, aren't you?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So congratulations again, my friend. So, guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Do us a favor. Take a pause right now. Do that. If you guys are interested in following us on our social media, our Linktree link is in the description, so you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you guys are listening to the audio-only version of this podcast, you can find us on your podcast platform of choice. Oh, and I did want to start off on the top before we forget. Happy birthday
I was writing that down.
Devin Collins, because he's the unofficial third man. Well, actually, Geno's third. Devin Collins is you will see his face eventually.
He's a water boy.
Yeah, he is a behind-the-scenes guy that Andrew and I talk to pretty much daily, talk about video games, and he just had a birthday. So congratulations, man, and happy birthday to you. Hope you did something fun. I know you listened to the audio version mainly, but if you can leave it in the comments on the YouTube, I'd love to know what you did.
Happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday, buddy. So with that down and out of the way, guys, let's move into our main topic, and that is going to be on Doom the Dark Ages, which is out right now. It's doing some pretty solid reviews. It's got 9s, it's got 10s, it's got no 10s yet, 9 out of 10s with 90% on a lot of outlets. If you aren't familiar with this, Doom the Dark Ages is a 2025 first-person shooter game developed by id Software and published by Bethesda Softworks. It is the 8th main entry in the Doom franchise and the 3rd installment of the modern series following Doom Eternal. It came out on May 15th, 2025. Not really surprising. It went cross-platform. I mean, Xbox's exclusivity is kind of done these days. But with that being said, yeah, it's 8th in the installment. Doom was in 2016. Doom Eternal came out in 2020. And now this new one is in 2025. Now, we both beaten Doom the Dark Ages. I actually got the chance to 100% it. Have you beaten? I know you've beaten Eternal. Did you beat Doom and Doom Eternal? Okay,
I started with 2016.
So collectively, then we have beaten the entire trilogy. So I want to start off. Do you think it was a smart move to make the 3rd installment a prequel to the series, or do you think they should have kept moving forward and make it a prequel? No, a sequel.
I think.
Do you like what they did? Give him an origin story, kind of.
We didn't play the DLC, but I think at the end of the newer DLC, they kind of like defeat Hell.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it's like stopped permanently or what the situation is with it. That I don't know how you would like move it going forward with all the kind of like bigger things like eliminated. But I do like the fact that it's a prequel, especially too because anyone could just jump into it. Like how many people haven't played Doom? Because I mean, even me before I had kind of dabbled in it, I wasn't familiar with these games, or I didn't really jump into them until 2016's Doom Eternal, that I wasn't in love with them. So if you were someone who was on the fence and maybe now you feel is the time to strike, you could definitely jump in on this because it was I think it does a perfect job of being that prequel where there's like a couple little nods to certain things. You're like, oh, okay, like that's a nod to something like later on or something. But it's not like you have to know this stuff. And if you don't know it, then you're just going to kind of be lost.
Yeah, I think the lore, even itself, you can get kind of lost in the weeds with it. It is a good starting place. I actually really loved that it was a prequel. You go back, you kind of start the origin of it. And like you said, it's perfect that if you haven't played them, and it's arguable that Doom and Doom Eternal are the better games. So even if you did start playing them fresh, you'd kind of lean more into what people would call the better games. But this one is doing quite well. Like I said, it's doing well in terms of scores. And as what they've been saying, Doom the Dark Ages has reached 3 million players in its first week, which is 7 times faster than Doom Eternal did, making it the biggest launch in id Software's history. Now, there's an article from IGN that goes on to say that you got to make sure you consider Game Pass when thinking about these numbers. Doom the Dark Ages was a day one launch across Game Pass for both Xbox consoles and PC. There will be a number of people who dipped into the Dark Ages via Game Pass rather than pay the $70 it costs to buy the game in the US. Perhaps from Microsoft's point of view, that's absolutely fine. It wants to sell PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions after all, but we've seen games sell well while also launching day one on Game Pass, such as the $50 Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Clair Obscur has sold an impressive 2 million copies despite also launching on the Game Pass. Doom the Dark Ages is more expensive. Might its price have put some people off? So I do kind of want to look at that. It's always frustrating when you see a player count versus hard numbers sell.
I hate when they use that stuff. Reach this many people, because I'm like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? And when you kind of look at it, yeah, it is interesting that Clair Obscur was able to do a lot on the Game Pass as well. But you got to keep in mind, it does have a much bigger budget. So I was just kind of thinking, do you think they're waiting for like a big milestone of maybe them recouping the budget? Do they finally launch sales numbers? Do you think it's kind of not doing as well as they thought? Or do you think Xbox is just kind of like, it doesn't matter at this point, we're just reestablishing the brand?
I think they kind of don't care at this point. Realistically, I can't remember the last time that I'm saying, oh, this game has sold like this many amounts or anything. Usually when you see like a lot of articles or anything about this, sometimes it's from them, but most of the time you'll see it from other people like doing their own sort of investigative stuff, or a lot of things you'll see is like Steam number, or like Starfield. Like Starfield was like a really interesting one too, because there was a lot of people that were playing it early, and the only way to play it early was to pay for that upgraded one, and since there's no Game Pass through Steam, you would have to purchase a game with the base amount. So you could judge by how many players on how many sold. And that didn't come directly from Microsoft, because that one actually did really well. So they weren't saying, oh, we've already done 2 million before the game's even launched, with all these people who want to do the pre-access and stuff like that. That's just from internet sleuths looking at the numbers themselves.
Yeah.
Reading the tea leaves.
Reading the tea leaves. Yeah, and it is going to be interesting to see how much they actually are able to make off of Sony, and it just seems to be the hardest thing they're having an issue with right now is Steam and having concurrent players at once. So PC does seem to be where they're lacking, but as far as I can tell, everyone's liking the game on console.
I've seen some people like online, and they're like, oh, $70 for this game, I'm not paying for it. It's only like 12 or however many hours. I'm like, what are you waiting for then? Like, what will you spend your money on? Because it depends on difficulty. Are you going to replay it? Are you going to explore? Are you just cruising straight through? Like, does every game have to be a 40-hour like experience for you to want to drop some sort of money on it? Personally, like me, like I play the Resident Evil games, and those are generally from like 7 to 12 hours. I guess you could count replayability or whatever. And I'm perfectly fine spending that money because I'm getting a quality story and a quality experience.
Yeah, and I could see where people look at it and go, $70 maybe is a little bit high, especially when it's a day one Game Pass. But maybe they should take a page out of Expedition 33. If it's a day one game on the Game Pass, maybe it should be something that's closer to $50. But, I mean, I don't know if that would have changed it drastically, but it's something to consider.
Well, Nintendo's saying go the other way, so make it $80.
Nintendo shot first, baby. So, with that being said, I wanted to kind of we'll kind of break it down a little bit, and we'll start with the story and the setting of the game. The setting is obviously years and years before the sequels, and it takes place in Hell, which is a really cool medieval kind of fantasy castles and things like that within it, which I thought looked pretty cool. One of the things I don't know if I was listening to a podcast or reading something with the setting, is that back in the day when John Romero and John Carmack were making Doom, John Carmack was running a D&D session, and that's kind of where they got the idea for Quake. But they're saying that, I don't know how true this is, you can take it with a grain of salt, that some of the inspiration for the new Doom of being in hell with castles kind of spins off of that Dungeons and Dragons experience they had from way back in the day. So I don't know, you think that's kind of a cool idea? Because I'm a huge D&D nerd, and you can definitely see with the dragons, the swords and shields, the armor, that there is that type of influence in there.
Yeah, I think it's a really, really cool setting, because I love it, because it's not even just, you know, the people, the places you're going, like he was saying, like the dragons and stuff, but down to like some of the things you do. Like he has like this big like fur cape that he kind of wears. It's almost like a cloak that, it looks badass. And then like one of the melee weapons, slight spoiler, I guess, is like this big the flail. I love using the flail. Dude, that's so sick.
I think I kept it on that for the rest of the game. So yeah, that's kind of the setting, and you're kind of bouncing around, dipping through different portals back and forth between the side you're on, which is like the king kind of guy, and the army, and the versus going against the hell demons and all that. But as far as the story goes, because I put this down, I want to get out of the way early, because I want to say it's probably the weakest aspect of the game, but I don't mean that offensively. Like you don't really play Doom to follow the storyline. You play Doom to have the gameplay. So just to kind of catch up on what it's loosely about, this is what the synopsis is. It says, long before Hell's invasion of both Mars and Earth, the Night Sentinels of Argent Denur and the allies, the Makers, are locked into a ferocious war with the forces of Hell who seek the heart of Argent. The Doomslayer, who has been empowered by the Makers, is deployed to help turn the tide in favor of humanity. However, the Slayer does not fight completely of his own free will, as his master, Creed Maker, suppresses his mind with a device called the Tether. Meanwhile, the leader of Hell's forces, Prince Azrak, realizes that he's not worth attempting to fight the Slayer directly and focuses his efforts on finding the heart. So I did think it was kind of cool seeing the Makers and how the Doom Slayer is actually kind of forced to do things that aren't really in his will. Later on, you'll meet a character named, what was her name? Thera. And she's kind of the main general / king's daughter. And without giving anything away, it slowly kind of turns into a rescue the princess kind of game. And but at the same time, you're trekking across hell to eventually stop the prince. So as far as the storyline goes, was there anything else you wanted to add, or how did you like? What did you pull apart from it?
I think the story, like you're saying, is like the weakest part, and maybe I don't mean that I don't mean it in like a bad way, but I will say it does have a lot of really cool moments in it.
Yeah.
So the story might not overall be like a 10 out of 10, but it's almost kind of like sometimes when you play, like, even some of the weaker Call of Duties where you're like, okay, the story seems like maybe it's a little mid, or I'm kind of just trucking along, just doing whatever, but you still have these cool, like, over-the-top set points of, like, oh, man, like, especially towards the end, me and him were just talking about something before this that we don't want to spoil. I was like, man, dude, that was, like, one of the coolest parts. That was so dope.
Yeah, so, yeah, the moments that are in this are definitely recognized, especially even the beginning, right when you first meet him, like, release the Doomslayer, and he drops out, and you're just ready to start picking up and playing it. The storyline's it's perfectly fine, but I don't think anyone's going to write home about how this one blows anything away, because I think even collectively, I'm still not really sure what all the Doom games are really about. It's just really getting in there and killing demons. So anything else on the story or the setting? All right, so let's move into kind of the bigger aspect of it, which is the gameplay and the weapons. Now, the game is broken up into 22 chapters, and it's very different. We kind of mentioned earlier, very different from Eternal and Doom 2016, where the other ones are kind of more jumpy and they have a lot of mobility. That's kind of gone. It's replaced with a weighty kind of boots on the ground tank. Like, for instance, the double jump is completely removed, and you're kind of more of just big hulking tank running through it. Now, I think it does give it, I was talking to Andrew off camera too, I think it gives it its own identity. You can definitely tell that this is a separate Doom from the other two. It's definitely a standalone game as well. It's a big gamble, and it can turn a lot of people off, because I know what a lot of people liked about the original ones was the fast, quick, jumping, 360 shot gameplay. This game doesn't offer it, but it does offer a lot of other things in terms of combat and abilities. So before we dive into those, I actually liked it, but I think I liked it probably more than you did. Is this one of the bigger falters for you?
It's not. We can. We'll get into a little bit of why I like the combat less. But as far as it being like weighty, I do like that you're not just kind of jumping around, because as you're like fighting people, it does make you think a little bit more about your positioning and where enemies are. That you can't just almost seem like jump out of kind of like any area and be like, okay, like I'll jump over this guy and then run over this way. You're kind of actually using the level layout a little bit more to either try to funnel people or maybe fight to where it's going to be to your advantage, or instead of like trying to like, I'll hop up on this rock and then hop over on that ledge and then run around, and now they're going to have to run all the way around if they don't follow me, versus now you're like, okay, I'm kind of almost up against corn, but if I drop off this ledge and come out and shoot out this way, I can take this guy and leave everyone back here if I'm quick enough, and then turn around and try to, slaughter some of the bigger guys.
Hey, and slaughter, my friend, you do. So that is kind of the biggest difference between the other ones, if you're familiar with them, moving into this one, is just the style of gameplay. And we'll dive into the guns in a second, but I did want to point out, you can't really talk about the gameplay without comparing it or listening to the music that's associated with it. Now, I know Andrew likes the music way more than I do in games. I actually like the music a lot. I know they were missing Mick Gordon in this, but for me, I was having a blast with it. I'd recommend turn the music up, turn the sound effects down, and kick back and enjoy. But as far as someone who really enjoys the music, especially from the original two, What did you find off about this?
I didn't care for the music. I thought it was really just background noise. Half the time I wasn't even noticing it. And I think even at one point, too, like I was kind of playing, and I don't know if it was the credits or towards the end, but you're doing something. And instead of it being like this cool, over-the-top, vibrant thing like it used to be, it was literally just like random guitar jobs, just like kang, kang, kang. And I'm like, okay, like this kind of like sucks. Like even midway through the game, almost to prove my point, I was like, why does it seem like the music's it's just there? Like it's not like it used to be. And I'll get into that a little bit, but I went into the settings. I'm looking at the volume options, and for whatever reason, the default for the music is at 80. So that's almost as if to prove my point that it wasn't supposed to be that important. Because even if you turn it up to 100, it's still not overpowering everything else. And I was like, man, if I already thought it was really in the background, like that at 100, how bad is it? How bad was it before when I kind of wasn't really paying attention, sitting at 80? But like Craig mentioned, and definitely go check it out if you're into the whole musical situation and everything. Mick Gordon kind of got into it with Doom, and he came with receipts, or not Doom, with id Software, and it was really more about them and Bethesda and kind of how they were treating him. And it's like a whole big story, and he's huge when it comes to music. He's worked with insanely huge bands that are selling out arenas right now, like Architects, Bring the Horizon, Motion Light's another big band. He performed the Doom soundtrack for the 2016 Doom at the Video Game Awards. Geoff Keighley had him come out, and that was their big musical act. Unfortunately, that was a year we didn't go. I wish we had, because I've watched that, and it's so good. But he's also done the music for the newer Wolfensteins 1 and 2, Killer Instinct, and then I think where he really like came to shine, and I mean, people love that other stuff. That music was good, but is going to be with Doom and Doom Eternal. And his influence with how good that music was went beyond just being in a game. There's even bands within like metalcore, hardcore, that metal, rock genre, whatever it is you want to call it, that they dubbed that term Argent Metal based off of what he does. Because it's almost kind of like gent style is what they call it. And you could see the profound impact that was on those people after he put out the music. And you'll even see bigger musicians, like there's a huge band called Slaughter to Prevail, and they're Russian, and one of the dudes just provides vocals to one of Mick's tracks just going, and then he kind of wrote some stuff to go with it and stuff like that. And so it just kind of makes it a more over-the-top version of that song, which is really good. So to see his impact of it, and I think that the biggest thing missing is his philosophy. His philosophy was that this is more, when he was doing it, it was about the audience and the experience. And so when you're playing it, the music is going with your experience. You're kind of feeling it with it. It goes with your style of gameplay, with your joy. If you're slow, it's a little slow. There's times where it gets over the top, and then that's kind of when you're building up, especially some of the smaller demons are pouring in. And then when the bigger ones get there, it gets more grand. That some of that music is even, you hear it all the time on like TikTok and memes and like Instagram, that people use that all the time for weird situations. That he just got insanely popular off of that because it was so good. And it's just background noise.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times too where I noticed, and maybe I don't know if it was my game or yours, but it's like there were times where I just felt the music disappeared. You'd be walking around and the music's just like there is no music. Yeah, so I did see that. So I did want to point out that just kind of some background where Mick Gordon has released a scathing blog post detailing the controversial development of Doom Eternal and alleging how, as a composer, he was mistreated, underpaid, and taken advantage of by studio director Marty Stratton in ways that have irreparably damaged his professional career and personal life. So he got it that bad, even though he's so well renowned.
You would have to go through and read about the studio. I think he's still chugging along and doing good because he's worked with some of these bands. I should have written down the dates of when he worked with them. I think it was after Eternal, because Doom was fine. It's Eternal where most of the problems were. And yeah, it was just a back and forth of like, oh, well, no, he's lying. And he posted like a whole thing with emails and and just everything that he had to back up his claim. And then Marty Stratton still was like, no, he's wrong, and we're going to come out and tell our truth, and they never said anything. Wow. So at this, and it was just him trying to say, oh, no, it's him that's at fault, and he did everything wrong. And no, go read that post. Yeah. You should.
I would love to read it, yeah.
It's insanely crazy, like some of the stuff that they did.
Insane remembering?
Yeah, and it's it's just absolutely wild.
Nice. So if you guys are interested in who the new one are, the composers have been revealed for the new one, which is a group called The Finishing Move, which is formed by the duo Brian Tryfon and Brian Lee White. And they've worked on, over the past few decades with Microsoft, with credits on Halo 2 Anniversary Edition, Grounded, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it seems like they worked with Callisto Protocol. So it's not to say these guys were bad in any way, but it just, you're saying, kind of misses the heart of what the other ones are when you lose somebody like Mick.
Where it was with the world and not just there with the world, I think is the best way to explain it. And almost as that you could like listen to this music outside of it if you're into that kind of music and really enjoy it, because we go down to this smoothie place down here called Nutrition Rush, and there's dudes there, like their whole life is like working out. They're all about that. And I had posted something because they follow me on Instagram. I had posted something with like another band called Born Messiah. It's like, oh, I really like that. Do you have something that's maybe excuse me, kind of like that ish, but without like the vocals? Like I just kind of want the music for when I'm focusing. And I was like, you know what? Here, try this. You might like that. And I sent him the Doom soundtrack.
Sick.
Excuse me.
Drink your water.
And no, that's what caused the problem. Is I was choking on the water. And I'd seen him like 2 days later, and he's like, dude, I listened to that like nonstop. In the last 3 times I've been to the gym, that's been like my go-to thing. I absolutely love it. It's so good, and it just really like it just gets me in the zone. And I was like, good. I'm really glad that you like it. And I'd seen him the other day. He's like, he brought it up again. He said, I'm still listening to that soundtrack. And that was like months ago that I sent that to him.
Dope. Maybe I'll try to find a YouTube like album collection of it, of Doom Eternal or something, and add it in the link if you guys are interested in that. So, anything else on the music? I'm glad. I knew you were going to dive into it. So I wrote one little thing for music, and I let you do your thing because I know it's really important. Music's important in a lot of games. It's essential to Doom and stuff like that. So
I believe that is a part of what made it popular. And I almost wondered too, like tinfoil hat thing, if maybe that's why that relationship became that way, where some people like him felt, oh, well, he's getting bigger than what the game is, and he's more known, and whatever, that sort of thing, because that's how good that music was.
Nice. So anything else on the music you want to add?
No, go check it out if you haven't.
So with that being said, guys, let's kind of move into the guns and the weapons, which are the meat and potatoes of this. There are 18 in total, and that's spread out between the Atlan armor suit as well. But I thought it gives you a pretty good selection, and you can get 12 out of the 18 weapons by chapter 6. So pretty early on, you can kind of experiment with a lot of the things. Now, this breaks up into the different guns, the shield upgrades, as well as melee weapons. To enhance these, which you can do, you need to get, there's 3 different types of currency that you need to eventually max them out if you are trying to 100% it. There's going to be gold, which you're going to be finding. That's going to be the main thing you're finding. And it's not, they don't really dish out a lot of gold. It's really 5 pieces. Maybe at the most you'll get 10. But then after that, to move it past a certain point, you're going to need rubies. And then finally, you're going to need wraith stone. So I wanted to start off with let's start with the shield first, because it's just the one thing. It is going to be the biggest thing you have to block and parry. Eventually, you get the shield saw, which lets you start cutting through everybody. And then you get runes on it, which you get 4 different types of runes. You get the Heaven Splitter, you get the Ground Fissure, you get the Auto Turret, and the Holy Swarm, all doing several different kinds of abilities. But for taking something as basic as a shield, I thought they implemented a lot of features with it. Obviously, you could hopefully, instead of jumping to reach certain places, you'll see statues. You can even throw it, and it'll use it as a boost. You can use it to chop through different enemies, and then when you find secrets in walls, you're going to use it to shield bash it. So I thought it was very versatile. How did you like the shield?
I like it, especially as far as like you're saying, you can use it to explore, you can use it when you're fighting. There's like a special thing you can do where you lock onto an enemy and you almost like shield bash them.
Yeah.
You can parry stuff too. I was like, oh, it's kind of funny that I just played Expedition 33 and now this. That seems like parrying is becoming it's a very popular thing now.
Parry pepper.
But I think something I was thinking about a lot, I was like, man, it's almost kind of bad luck, I would say, that whatever's happening with that Captain America game didn't come out before this, because if their shield gameplay is not as good as this, they're going to be in trouble, because even just playing it, because it's got like razor blades around it, you can throw it like Captain America, and then you can get certain upgrades where if you hit people with like electric shields, it'll bounce between a couple different enemies. Good. And I was throwing it, I was like, oh man, I really love like throwing this thing, especially at low level guys, so like they'll be kind of standing right here, and maybe there's a bigger demon right here, so I'll throw that, so that way it's taking care of them, and then I'm turning and fighting this dude right here. So I really like the shield a lot. I just don't know if I like it enough at what it costs as far as the last games. Because I don't know if you have a section in there about that. I should have asked you before.
For what?
As far as like the rip and tear.
I have biggest changes, and we can address that when we get there.
Okay, we'll save it for then.
Yeah, so the shield is fantastic. What ability did you end up using the most? I thought I was gonna like the turret, because there's different things when you parry. You'll trigger these abilities as long as he has the rune equipped, and you can upgrade him with the currency. I thought I was gonna like the turret a lot because it'll pop up and start shooting enemies. But I really like messing with all of them. But did you have a favorite at all?
I use the Holy Blades the most. I fully upgraded that one because that one just seemed to like melt people, or sometimes
the Holy Swarm or the Heaven Splitter.
The Holy Swarm.
Okay, yeah.
And there's sometimes where like I'm fighting an enemy and there's a little dude and I'll parry, and so that summons all like the little holy daggers, and it'll go towards the big guy because I already killed the smaller dude and he's already broken, so I'm ready to do like the special little moveset to him.
Yeah, so I thought the shield, they did fantastic with it. There's so many different things you can do with it. We're gonna have some tips later if you're interested in it, but one now while I'm selling the shield is you can use it when you hit LT, it'll slow down time for you for like 3 or 4 seconds, which is, if you're playing on some of the higher difficulty, it's a really good thing to keep in mind to kind of slow down the tempo and take a look around and then plan your next kind of move. I didn't really notice you could do it because I was so used to just clicking it and throwing it. But later on, when you're fighting these big waves of people, it's every little bit of time you can have definitely works. So, anything else on the shield?
No.
The next thing we can get to is the melee weapons. You get the power gauntlet, which is in the beginning, the flail, which Andrew mentioned earlier, and then later on then this is towards the end of the game, you get the dread mace. What was kind of cool with these, and this is very gamey, very arcadey, is even the melee, you can't just constantly use it over and over. They all have like an ammo that you actually have to use, and you can find the little gauntlet on the floor. Now, you don't necessarily run out, but the more you kill and the more damage you do, the faster it'll rebuild up, but they'll have like a max ammo that you can actually use. The gauntlet was a lot of fun. I think the majority of people are going to land on the flail. And I should mention too, even with the shield and the melee weapons, there's all kinds of death scenes that you can do, all kinds of little animations that pop up as you kill people. But the flail was awesome. The death mace you get is probably obviously the most powerful, but it only holds one charge at a time, but it'll wipe out an entire arena. So I do like that it kind of gives you this. What are you going to use? Because there's going to be moments where you're kind of going down a corridor and there's a lot of guys. Do you want to waste the dread mace on it, or do you want to use the flail? And then there's going to be big open arenas that you can do. So I don't know how much more is to say about them. They all have their own upgrade system. So depending on which one you like, using the currencies that you find, you can also upgrade them and add certain things, like the more damage you do to them, or the more you kill or light them on fire, the more ammo they're going to drop. So really kind of pick your poison, but they were all fun to use.
I liked using the mace a lot too once I picked it up. Now, let me know if there's a spoiler and we don't have to talk about it. Is there another weapon, or is it just those 3?
As far as melee weapons go,
yes.
It's just those 3.
I didn't get the achievement for some reason for unlocking all melee weapons, and so I was like, okay, there must be something like either later on down the road, and then I beat the game, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I missed something. I'm like, oh, weird, I wonder what the other melee weapon could have been.
Oh, I'd have to double check, because I already uninstalled it, because I already 100%ed it, I uninstalled it, but I would...
you had to have had it, so that's why I was asking you. I was like, oh,
I would look at the menus, though, and see if there was. As far as I remember, it's just those 3, the weapons, the shield, and then there's a bonus weapon that you get later, but I don't think they count that as a melee.
It had to be that then, because I don't think I got that. Is it off the beaten path?
Yeah, but you can't even upgrade it though. So that
would have to be it then, because I got those 3. I don't know what the other thing is that you're talking about.
No, the BFC.
Oh no, that's a part of the thing. So
yeah.
No, I have no clue. Maybe it just didn't pop for me then, because I didn't have any other issues with the game, but except for that one. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of annoying.
It's always a bummer when you don't crack the achievement. But as far as the melees go, I thought they were all fun. I mean, as good as it gets.
Yeah, I think towards the end I was using the mace the most.
Oh, the dread mace at the end? Yeah, it's a big slobber knocker. Now, finally, guys, we can get into the guns, and I think they did a good job. You have ammo, but your ammo will handle 2 different types of a weapon. So really, you're getting, when you go to your will, let's say I think there's 6, you're getting 12 different types of guns on them.
Yeah, because there'll be like the shotgun and the super shotgun.
I'll run through them real quick. Yeah, so we have the combat shotgun, the shredder, the accelerator. The machine gun is for the Atlan. We'll talk about that in a little bit. The pulverizer, the impaler, the cycler, the super shotgun, the chain shot, the grenade launcher, the rocket launcher, the shotgun for the Atlan later on, the Ravager, and then we'll get into the BFC in a second. But all types of fun guns. Some of them better than others. I listed as my favorite. I think it was the Cycler. Is the Cycler the one that's the electric?
The dual electric?
Yeah,
I use that one the most.
Yeah, the Cycler is hands down my favorite. I would say my least favorite was probably the chain shot. I don't remember ever really using it that much. It was just kind of, you could charge it up and then knock them down like bowling pins. But I wanted more ricochet and bouncing around and things like that.
I use the Cycler and the super shotgun through.
Yeah, the super shotgun hands down is the moneymaker, because that's just, if you're fighting bosses, you're using the super shotgun. When you're clearing out hordes, the electric chain shots are just fantastic.
Yeah, especially too once you like start upgrading them and you get some of their special effects like the Cycler. Because it's electric based. As soon as you're killing enemies, the electricity will spread towards the other enemies and start damaging them. So you're just clearing out
lightning,
those
motherfuckers. And you know something on the guns in per se. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything. Play it, have fun with as many as you want. I think there's a good, healthy variety of guns, and I think there's a lot of decent. I don't know if it changes the harder you do the difficulty, but I found myself there was a lot of decent ammo drops and things like that. Like if you're running around and looking at your environment, there's going to be health, there's armor, and there's ammo. So I thought I was never really in too much trouble. There are hard fights, but
I would definitely experiment with it. And then, I mean, if it turns out to be a weapon you don't like the electric ones, which specifically are more catered towards the enemies with like the electric shields, I don't remember if it's something you get out of a rune or if it's just something you could do later. But you do get like a shield ability where you can hit those guys. And I think it's just an upgrade where if you hit them, then it'll bounce between everyone. Whereas before, if you just hit them, it didn't really do anything.
Yeah, because I remember, I think I had the flail upgraded where as long as you're smashing people with the flail, it was dropping ammo for me. So that was another way to kind of stay in the heat of battle. And then finally, the callback for the BFG in other Doom games, they introduced the BFC, which is the Ballistic Force Crossbow. This is a side weapon. It's nothing you can upgrade. When you unlock it, you'll hit Y, and it'll switch out. There's only so many. It's not even so much that you can pick it up with ammo. There's only so much ammo around, and they come in like these golden crossbow bolts. And it's your big gun. It's your closer. So if you are struggling or you're in a boss fight, I wouldn't say spare the ammo. I mean, use it if you need it. And you can once you find it, you can generally find one or two pieces as long as you're exploring, but that's what you're going to save for boss fights.
Yeah, I actually really like using that a lot. And I like the way that they took that back and made it something different with the crossbow. That was actually really cool.
Yeah.
I guess spoiler, sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's all I have for the gameplay and the weapons. All I have next is the biggest changes that they kind of did. Do you want to start with what you were going to bring in with your combat?
Yeah, I was going to say the biggest change and what I like the least, because maybe that's what brought me into Doom with the newer ones, was the rip and tear mechanic. I really love like when people are like down and down, you can still shoot them or whatever, but certain enemies you just like rip out their eye and then like smash their head in or whatever. It was just really cool. Even on like little demons, you just grab them and then you just tearing them in half. There was a lot of really cool individual things that you could do against all kinds of enemies. That is gone in this. There's only like certain like bigger enemies that are a little harder to kill. And they'll give you special upgrades when you kill them. So it'll upgrade your ammo for something, your armor, whatever. You'll do something to them, but it's just not the same. And it's very weak. I think one of the weakest aspects is when there are some of the bigger demons, and you get them down almost to like that what it would be for the glory kill. They'll be glowing purple, but you don't do anything. Your dude just punches them and they'll just fall over and go flying dead, or you'll do like a kick and they just do the same thing or like explode or something. And I'm like, I don't understand why you couldn't have kept both in here. And maybe if you wanted to speed up the pace of the game, and maybe that's what they're worried about, is people felt like that was too slow, why not save something special for some of those bigger ones? Because it felt like I'm just doing the same thing to them.
Yeah, I can hear you on that. I was going to ask, because I didn't put it as a change. Were the leaders that are locked behind...
I was going to ask that.
Because it's been so long since we played Doom and Doom Eternal. There's leaders that have like shields around them, and you can't crack their shield until you kind of clear out everything. Is that something new? I think it is.
That's new. I was about to write it down and bring it up. So going back to the gameplay, there are... And it doesn't have to be the biggest demon. It could be like a mid-tier demon. There are some that do different things. Some of them have extra health. There's other ones that have like a flag over their head. And what they do is they're like empowering other demons that are around them, so that way they're harder to kill. And then there's other ones where you have to... I think it says like instill fear in who's around them, that you can't hurt them because they have shields surrounding their body, and you have to kill a lot of the other demons, there's like a meter that fills up. So you have to kill a lot of the other demons, and then that breaks his shield, and then you can attack that big guy.
Yeah, and again, make sure when you are fighting him, there's also increases to your health, your ammo, and your armor. Fighting some of these bigger guys, when you rip out their hearts, is going to be how you increase that as you go. So keep that in mind. But I want to say the biggest thing they probably changed was this game is fully customizable when you go into the settings. They've changed how fast the game actually can be. You can slow it up, you can slow it down, or you can turn it up, you can slow it down. You can adjust the parry windows of how long it'll take to reflect certain things. You can even change the damage of how much your character takes and how much you dish out to other enemies. So it seems very player welcoming in that way. If like, because some of the other Doom games are hard, and if you want to try to go up on the difficulty level, it definitely progresses. But this game kind of gives you the balance of you're able to control it. But one of the things I almost such that I didn't like, but as noticeable, is now there's no achievement for beating games on the hardest difficulty. So that was one of the reasons I was able to kind of 100% it, because you didn't have to go back and play it on a harder level. So I don't mind that they did it. Where do you land on the ability to fully change damage and how slow the game's moving and the whole parry system? Because, I mean, you're taking the core of the game and then adjusting it to your like. So it's very open, it's very friendly, it's very accessible. But does that change Doom?
I think it gives it an experience for everybody, and before maybe I was kind of against that, but actually as I've been reading out too, like something I loved was Lies of P. And that game's like a Dark Souls game. Very hard to get into. That with the new expansion they're putting out, there is going to be a difficulty setting or something like that on there. So I'm like, oh, you know what? I guess it really doesn't hurt me that much. That why shouldn't somebody like you be able to experience something that I loved, and maybe you would like it if it's more accessible to you. That how many people, maybe it was too fast for them and don't have that good hand-eye that they could just slow it down and jump into it. And there are people that will make crazy challenges out of this now. The same way people do Dark Souls like level 1 runs, people will probably do a whatever the equivalent of I do the lowest damage, the hardest settings style run. I do think that there should be achievements in there, just because that's a classic. That's the smallest gripe, but there should be those achievements in there, though, just like Wolfenstein does, or other games do that have beat it on the hardest difficulty.
Yeah, that was the first thing I was looking for, and once it was gone, I was like, oh, I wonder why. But I'm like, oh, there's so much customizable options. Did you mess around with any of it? Did you fluctuate any of the damage? Or?
I did turn up like the speed. I've seen a lot of people say like the best way to play it is playing at like 150
I
speed.
turned up the speed too, yeah.
So I think that was something I kind of messed with, and I think I messed with my damage a little bit, like making it just like a little bit less, just kind of see what it would be like. I kind of played with some of them a little bit. I do like the option that it's there.
Yeah, because you can turn the damage, which was insane because I was looking at it. You can go from 100%, I think, down to 50, but it'll go 100, 150, 175, 275, and then it goes to 375, and then the next one is 1,000.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to kind of just explode through the game, you can crank it up to 1,000 and just do work. So I think that's the biggest change. The next change that is clear is that from Doom Eternal, because it's not in Doom 2016, I believe, they dropped the hub world. In Doom Eternal, at the end of it, you would go back to your ship, there's different things you could go find, unlock. This game returned back to just going chapter by chapter, which I know a lot of people loved. When you look at it, at the end of it, it'll say how many secrets you got, how many collectibles you got, and you can, it's one of those things you can be like, all right, I'll do 2 chapters, and then I'll go do something, I'll come back. So I really like that they went back to this model versus, I don't mind the hub world, like the spaceship kind of thing, but I like the chapter by chapter.
I didn't care for the hub world. I felt like I kind of kept getting lost in it like a little bit too. I prefer this, especially too, because then I can upgrade in between as I'm playing and not have to go back to the hub world, because they have, I forget what they're called, but there's these shrines that are, they're not everywhere, but they're you'll see them often. They're not few and far between or something ones? Like that. No, the upgrading shrines.
Oh, okay.
I forget what they're called.
Yeah, the green
ones. Yeah. And you upgrade your stuff at that, and I'm like, okay, this is way better than having to go back to a hub world and like do whatever, or even still just to explore to go to the next area. I much prefer this.
Yeah, and then I gotta say that they also, this is the first open world game that they've made. I wouldn't really say it's open world. It's more of a bigger sandbox where the map is actually fantastic. When you actually open up your map, it's a really good. You can raise it up and down, and you've got to be next to things to unlock the secrets to see where there are, but where they're at. But you do got to do a lot of exploring. But one of the bigger things they've kind of introduced is is instead of being a linear path to go from A to B, it's more objectives you can do in any order you want. Kind of like didn't Call of Duty did that where you can start like that. So people are calling it open world. I look at more of a sandbox objectives that you can do in order that you want. Did you like it at all? Did you like having a bigger play space to kind of run around, or do you miss the old kind of A to B?
I think I prefer the A to B a little bit more, and it's nothing against the world, but I did find myself at points like, okay, like, I'm kind of tired of fighting these guys, because now it just seems like they're just there, so I'm just running past them, versus,
which you can do.
And I'm like, okay, now that kind of just makes the combat a little more pointless in my head, versus when you're playing, like, the Doom 16 or, like, Eternal, each section where you're doing combat isn't just like we're just gonna throw a ton of people at you out here, and they're all out here in this big area, and you can either run or go. Like, each fight serves a purpose to go to the next area. Where there's tons of times where I'm just kind of fighting, or if you kill the big bad of the area, it gets rid of everyone else that's there. You don't have to get rid of everyone individually. I kind of like that aspect of it. So I would say it's a double-edged sword for me. I do kind of like it, and it's not a bad experience to explore, but I also felt like some of the fighting made it a little bit pointless, especially once you do realize, okay, I ran all the way. Let's say the map is shaped like a T. Instead of me running, I had to run all the way this way, so the obvious other objective is going to be all the way in the opposite direction. I'm just going to run past all these guys. Why am I going to fight them again, or why am I going to fight them in the first place if there's nothing to be gained from fighting them?
Right. I thought it was a good idea, and I think they executed it fairly well. If it's something they're going to keep moving forward, they can definitely clean some stuff up and improve on it. So I like that they did it. I think a lot of people were having fun with it, but I don't mind just the old school linear path. The other thing I want to add before we don't forget them or don't remember them at all is they added the Atlan mech suit, they added the Mecha Dragon Seret, and I don't think swimming was in any of the old games, but there's a swimming mechanic in it. As far as the swimming goes, I didn't find it that great. I thought it was kind of useless. You didn't really need it.
It's better than Ninja Gaiden Black.
Right. Yeah, that sucked. As far as the Mecha Dragon goes, it was cool. I didn't find flying all that compelling because it was more, there's parts where you can chase these ships down. Maybe because I had my speed turned up. If you slowed it down, maybe it's a little easier to maneuver. But even when you get to the open space, it's really just kind of going up and down and moving around. So I didn't really find it necessary, although the killing with it was pretty dope. The Atlan mech suit, though, I think out of all three of those was by far the coolest. And it also gets its own guns and upgrades as you progress through the level. And like the shotgun, we had to like parry. And as soon as it heats up red, you can start one-shot killing everybody. So those were kind of three of the bigger things they added. How'd you like swimming? How'd you like the dragon? And how'd you like the mech suit?
I don't even know why swimming's in there, especially if you're... I guess it serves a point to get to A to B, but I mean, that's all it really is. So, it is what it is. The dragon, I will say, is cool the first time you do it.
Exactly. After that, I was like, man, another one?
Yeah, the first time you do it, and maybe the second time you do it, I'm like, okay, this is cool. But then it turns out you're like, oh, okay, I'm kind of doing the same thing over and over to different enemies or different areas. I'm just doing the same thing. And then there's at like one point where there's like 5 different airships that you have to like take them down before you can do the objective. And once I realized on the second one, I'm like, damn, dude, I'm going to blow this ship out of the sky and I have to land on each one now and then do something in there and then go on to the next one. I'm like, dude, this is annoying.
It's tedious.
And as far as the Atlan goes, I actually really like the Atlan.
I thought it was fun.
I think that was the best part, especially kind of like swooshing around with him and his moves. And I do like, too, that there is an option for the parry when you get certain weapons too, so like you get like your there's like a shotgun, there's a big Gatling gun, so that way like if you do the parry dodge, like the gun heats up red like you were saying the shotgun does, but it starts doing more damage, or even like the punches that you can do, or like you do that like Superman punch from like across the map. I love doing that, so I thought the Atlan was really cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I have to say. Anything else on changes that you want to add?
I don't know that I could think of anything else off the top of my head that we did not cover.
Okay, so with that being said, I just want to end with some tips in case you guys were just starting to play the game. One of them is if you're doing the mission challenges or the gun mastery challenges, you can, if you're trying to do a gun and it says you need 100 kills and you're in a good arena that you get like 20 at a time, if you, once you're done, you can hit start and just go to reload checkpoint and your challenges stack. So you're going to keep that 20, and then you can go back. So that's how I did a lot of the guns, too. I would get them done out of the way early. That way I'm not worried about them the rest of the time I was playing. So that's something to keep in mind. I already mentioned earlier, when you get certain upgrades, your melee will give you back ammo and health. Andrew mentioned it earlier too. If you take out certain leaders, you're going to get rid of the rest of the board a lot faster. They'll just disappear. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Don't use the BFC, which is your ballistic force crossbow, on the guys that and you'll know who they are. When you rip them out, you get their heart, which are your upgrades. I don't know if it's a glitch or if it is part of the game. The BFC will disintegrate them. So you'll never get a chance to walk up to them, hit R, and bash them and rip out their heart. So people were losing upgrades if you're using the BFC. So be careful using that on the end guys. And then if you are interested in it, definitely try to explore, do the puzzles, get the arenas, find the secrets, because that is going to be how you find more currency, more loot to upgrade your guy. So I think that's everything we have on Doom. Is there anything else you want to add?
I want to throw in like 2 little tips. I would say definitely fiddle around with the map. I found the map to be very easy and accessible to understand where I'm going, so the map actually is really good. But more importantly, I would say off the rip, you do have to, the game forces you to upgrade something just so you understand how it works. I wouldn't just blow everything you have right away. I actually waited for like a little bit.
Yes,
and this is if you want to be like a little overpowered. I waited a little bit till I ended up using, like I said, the super shotgun and the cycler, which are kind of earlier weapons. I used those a majority. That I had already stockpiled some of my resources. That I just upgraded those, and then I did other stuff sparingly, and I would kind of use them throughout the gameplay. But for my bread and butter, I was like, okay, cool. I already have this stuff. I'm gonna upgrade them to where it feels like now I'm not kind of like trudging along. I'm just like smashing people.
So guys, that's everything we have on Doom, the Dark Ages. Make sure you check it out. Use the tips, and hopefully you found what we said interesting and helps you out. So with that down, guys, we're going to move into what are you up to? When Andrew and I take a second, talk about what we've been up to, what we've been playing, what we've been watching. I have a little more to say, so do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Well, after Doom, I'm not playing anything. I'm playing a little bit more of Oblivion. I don't remember if I'd mentioned it last time that I'd finished like the Shimmering Isles. So I just finished up that section. I wanted to do that kind of first because I don't think I'd ever done it originally when it came out. And when I was going back, I'm like, you know what? I'm really enjoying my time with this too, because I didn't realize, and I'd forgotten, and I don't think Skyrim is like this, that from the get-go, all the cities that are spread out, the major cities, you can warp to them right away. You do not have to cross the map and get there once, like I think you have to in Skyrim.
Good, I love that.
And so I was like, okay, like this is just making this so much better. So this is kind of my free time game that I'm trying to beat before Elden Ring Night Reign comes out next week. As far as watching anything, and these just dropped at the start of this year at like March, and I think the last one was today, the
23rd.
The last one I think comes out on next Tuesday. Is
Tuesday.
Season 6 of The Dark Side of the Ring. Now, I brought these up before on the show that if you're into wrestling, they do lots of classic stuff. They do some modern stuff too. And they've dropped some like really, really good ones. So the first one of this newer season was diving into the infamous Hell in the Cell with Mick Foley and The Undertaker, where he threw him off the top. And they kind of do like a deep dive into that. And they're talking about him. And I know that one's been talked about to death, but it was just nice to get some of the other aspects in it. Because they do throw in some stuff that obviously you've never heard or seen before. But some of the other ones that they've done now too are like Big Van Vader and Tony Atlas, who's another big guy. And I think the one that drops on Tuesday and that I was kind of interested in because this was a very interesting time back then is, do you remember who Muhammad Hassan was?
Muhammad Hassan?
Yeah, you might have been out of wrestling then, but for me growing up, this was kind of, I think, maybe when I was about like 11 or 12, so I was still watching. This is kind of when John Cena's taking off.
He's not the tall guy, is he?
No, that's the Great Khali.
Okay.
No, he came in, and I don't remember if he was like a Middle Eastern prince or what he was, but I think this was post 9/11 too. He used to come in and just like fucking bash America all the time.
Okay.
And he would have another smaller Middle Eastern that would be talking in whatever language. And sorry, I don't mean to say like negatory. I really don't know.
Right.
And I don't want to mislabel somebody for what they were. But he would be saying whatever, and they would just say hateful shit like America sucks and this and that. And then I think it culminated too in like where they were doing like a terrorist plot where I don't remember.
Yeah, because I remember that it got scrapped. Yeah.
It got scrapped because 3 days later after that had aired was when that like London Bridge bombing had happened, and so that's what the last episode is about next week. And I was like, oh man, that'll be kind of a crazy one to watch, especially too seeing that guy, because I'm sure that dude. I've seen some stuff with him before where like he talked about how he got death threats and just people hated him and this and that. And I mean, I guess it was good. heat back in the day for whatever they did during wrestling, because it just seemed like WWE threw a lot of shit. They had all kinds of crazy stuff going on back then, and I think that's kind of why some people like us maybe look back on it more fondly, because there was just all kinds of off-the-wall shit that would never fly today.
Yeah, that's funny. I do remember, like, another you said, I'm like, yeah, he's the guy that happened to all the wrong time, wrong character, the wrong time. Hey, he's no Iron Sheik, though. As far as what I've been up to...
Oh, there is one on the Iron Sheik, too.
I'd love to watch that, dude. He was so just jacked. As far as what I've been watching, I did just go see Until Dawn with Sam, and it's from PlayStation Studios, and it's based off the game, kind of, from 2015. It's not doing so hot. It's getting 6 out of 10, 50% 52 on Rotten Tomatoes. But the plot is, 1 year after her sister disappeared, Clover and her friends head to the remote valley where she vanished to search for answers. Exploring an abandoned visitor center, they soon encounter a mass killer who murders them one by one. However, when they mysteriously wake up at the beginning of the same night, they're forced to relive the terror over and over again. This just dropped on April 25th. Andrew just said, I think it's on digital. You can be on VOD now?
Yeah, I don't know what version of VOD, but like last night before I went to bed, I turned on my TV and it said up top, now on digital.
Nice.
There's a big banner for Until Dawn.
If you're someone that's played the game, the character or the actor Peter Stormare, who's the psychologist, the guy that's treating the main character of the game, he's in this. So it does kind of tie those worlds together, but it is not a remake, or it's not a movie adaptation of the game. It's its own storyline with all brand new characters. I would say if you're into horror, even the slightest bit, a lot of the killings were really, really cool. Like them having to relive the same day and seeing how they die, it was really awesome. As far as the it ends kind of flat. It's the third act kind of falls apart, and I think that's where a lot of people are like, oh, it had all this promise and it kind of falls apart. The very ending does tie in the movie with the game. You'll notice some Easter eggs that imply that, oh, it does take place in the same world as the Until Dawn game, but it is not a adaptation of it. It was fun to watch. I had fun with it. I don't really go watch horror movies, but it was a decent time. As far as what I've been still playing Expedition 33. I got to a point where I wanted Andrew to look at my character real quick because I'm building it a certain way that Andrew kind of gave me a guide to, so I want to make sure he double checks it. But what I've been diving into was Marvel Rivals, which launched on December 6, 2024. Got a ton of praise. There was a lot of people that I was listening to last year that said it was good enough to be considered like one of their game of the years. So I picked it out because I was looking for a game to play with my nephew, Grayson, and we both landed on Marvel Rivals. It's on a couple seasons now, so there's a lot of more new characters. When I first started playing it, I was getting my ass beat, and so I looked up how to play some characters. There's a guy on there called Paz, I think it's Paz, and he does some really good breakdowns of how you should be playing certain characters, because they do have roles like a tank, a DPS, and a healer. But in this game, they call them Vanguard, Duelist, and Strategist. So I've been kind of looking for certain characters. The characters I've landed on is the Invisible Woman, who's dope, dude. She's shielding and she's healing. I don't know. I haven't landed on my tank yet, but I've been using Groot. And then the newest character I just started playing was Moon Knight, which I played the day. Hopefully I have the picture and I can pop it up. And I got my first MVP in the game. Nice. It was really, it's been really fun. And so I've been looking for more people to play with. I gave a shout out on our Discord. Randy's gonna start playing with me, and I think CN's gonna start playing with me. So because one of the cool things is it's got a 6-man team, so you can kind of build up a lot more than you can like on a Halo squad or something like that. So I do want to start playing a little bit more. Geno says he's gonna jump into it, so I've been having a lot of fun with Marvel Rivals, and so far it's just getting better and better. So guys, that's what I've been up to. Leave down in the comments below what you guys have been up to. Let us know your thoughts on Doom, the Dark Ages. Let us know what you've been watching. Let us know what you've been playing. So guys, that is the end of episode 215. Until next week when we do episode 216, my name is Craig Perales. That is Mandrew Montemare. Cheers.
See you guys.